Welcome everybody to an incredible episode. We are so excited to be here today. As you know, we talk to amazing people doing amazing things, and we're so proud on this wonderful holiday for our country. Happy Remembrance Day, everybody, to all our visitors and listeners and watchers and learners. We have a very, very special guest. Caroline, I just got to reach out and say Happy Remembrance Day today.
Thank you to you as well. And thank you to everyone who did and do protect our country and our countries, I should say, because we're in Canada, but you know, we have people all over the world listening to us. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're very, very happy because I had the blessing of meeting Michele, and I believe we met very serendipitously and then realized that we had both talked in another organization that was around women in business. And I was blown away by her story, because when you hear about, women in the military, there's been all sorts of stories and information. And for some people, it's completely new and breaking ground and being pioneers. And it's women like Michele that make younger Michelles feel like they can have a career. A lot of times, like, my son was in Air Cadets for a time, or someone will spend a little bit of time, but to make that decision to have a career serving your country. And well, you know what? Why am I going to talk about it? Let's just bring Michele onto the show. Michele, welcome to the True That Show today.
Hey, thanks so much. Sorry, I was on mute.
No worries, no worries. Well, thank you for coming to the show, and happy Remembrance Day to you. So we want to hear a little about, you don't have to tell everybody how old you are. Some people are listening, some people are watching, but you've had a long career. You are the third woman in our country to be a commander of a ship. Not everybody understands, and I'm sure you'll tell us what the Navy does, but what makes a young woman decide to, or what made you decide that you wanted to do this? And was it always something that you thought of wanting to do as a lifetime career, or did it just grow as it came along?
Oh, it's a bit of an interesting story, I guess. I grew up in small town Newfoundland, finished high school and was on my way to university. And I had always had a bit of an interest or a fascination with the military. And I suppose it's some of the structure and the discipline of it. I'm a bit of an OCD type A kind of person. And I was attracted to that. I went into a recruiting center, talked to them about joining the military, and they told me that, maybe I should work a little bit more on some of the sciences, get some physics and things. And I thought, yeah, that's not going to happen for me. So I went on to university, went in, thought I was going to do a business admin degree. Then I met calculus and decided that business was not going to be for me. And just a whole bunch of route changes and trying to decide what it was that I really wanted to do. And I ended up graduating from Memorial University in St. John's with a Bachelor of Arts in English, with a concentration in theater and drama, and a minor in folklore. So I was not really set up to do anything at that point. And it just so happened that the Navy was running a program through the Marine Institute. And so there were some sailors from our Navy that were going through training there. They're learning technical trades. They worked on radars and weapon systems and things like that. And I became friends with a number of them, some of them married friends of mine from university. And I remember talking to one of them one day and saying, you guys have it made. You're getting paid to go to school. You're getting your school paid for, and you come out of this on the other side with a skill. And he said, well, if you're interested, then why don't you do it? And I thought, yeah, but if I get in and I don't like it, and then I'm stuck, and I don't know if that's what I want to do. And he said, well, try the reserves. And I had never heard of the reserves before. It is an organization, the Army, Navy, and Air Force all have them. The Naval Reserve has a number of divisions throughout Canada, across all the provinces. And the reserves basically parade at their unit a couple times a week. You go away for training for several months. You can take a contract of anywhere from a couple of weeks up to several years. And I thought, okay, you know what? if I can do this and not be stuck and have an opportunity to get out if I really don't like it, then I might as well just give it a try. And little did I know that that was going to lead to almost 26 years in the Navy, travel around the world, command of a ship at sea, things that I never could have possibly imagined at the time. And it was all just because I'm just going to give it a try.
That's, congratulations. You reminded me, you brought me back to university because I had a friend. So the university where I was going had this super popular program for oceans, studying oceans. Everyone around the world would come there. So we had really interesting people in this small town of 40,000 people. But one of my friends was in the Army. And, I was putting myself through university and everything, and he had it paid from the Army. And then in the summer, did not have to get a job because he had a job guaranteed, basically. And then the first 3 years when he was out of university, he had a job. It was actually his commitment. He had to give 3 years. So I was just like, what? So you're getting paid exactly like you're getting paid, your studies are paid, and then your commitment is that you have to get experience for 3 years. Poor you. So I actually, did consider the Army myself. And thank God I changed path, because, I am not, I would have been in there rebelling against everything. I know myself. So it's a good thing that I decided to pay for my studies myself and get my own experiences. But I do admire, I have a nephew who is in the Army, and, it's funny because when he was little, he was hyperactive, and we were like, oh, we should put him in the Army. They will discipline him, because it was a bit that, as parents, that's the impression I had of the Army as well. But tell me, how strict is it? How strict is it? Because I know it's strict. I know you guys are like very disciplined and everything, but now that I see my nephew going through that, he's 33 now. He has such a disciplined life, and he's healthy, and he's so on track. So there's clearly like amazing, and I listened to this right now, his name is I'm having a blank, but this amazing commander who's doing these speeches about like make your bed in the first thing in the morning. So there's clearly some amazing habits that you develop through that, but how strict is it? Just for my own personal, did I make the right choice?
I mean, sure, it is strict in the sense that we when you start off in basic training and you're learning everything right from how to put on your uniform and iron it and how to do drill and all those things. But the concept behind it, of course, is getting people all on the same page. And having people disciplined so that when orders are given, that they are followed. And I remember having a conversation with someone one time about, they were saying how, it was so silly. They were getting all upset about this thing that we were doing, which was such a minor thing. And, and I was in Afghanistan, and I was getting shot at, and, like what we were doing here was so unimportant. And I don't know why everyone was getting so upset about it. And I said, well, it's kind of the whole philosophy behind it, is that we instill discipline at every level, even when things are calm and cool and collected and mundane, because we expect that when the proverbial crap really hits the fan, that people are going to respond in the way that they've been trained to do it. And so that's why things are done in such a regimented manner that it becomes second nature for you to respond to an order or to an event without really thinking about it. Now, that's not to say that there's not opportunities for people to sometimes be able to speak up. And we've certainly seen a lot of that in the media lately. But I know that's not really what we're here to talk about today. So, but yeah, it's strict, but it teaches you such great life skills like that. Just your time management and appreciation of, and respect for other people when it comes to meeting timelines and being on time and being prepared and all of those kinds of things. Yeah.
So Michele, it's sometimes when people don't, and that's great. I mean, you know what? People go, hey, look, Caroline is a master at time management, and people go to her and pay her to learn how to manage their time, because it's something that we all need to do. And yeah, so many people think of the military as the military. And there's obviously an overriding belief, which you can share with us, just kind of like what you did there. There's a philosophy behind the discipline behind whether you're in the Army or in the Navy or in the, in, what am I thinking? Army, Navy, and Air, right? So tell us, being someone who's in the Navy, what is the role of the Navy? Like, we think we see we think the ships, what do they do? Do they help the Coast Guard? Like, tell us really what it is the Navy does.
Okay, well, I mean, the Navy, like the Army and the Air Force, is their primary mission is the security and defense of Canada. We're here to make sure that our country, our sovereignty, our natural resources, all of those things are protected and safe from external threats. Not within Canada; those kinds of things are the responsibility of the RCMP and so on. And I know you can see my cat.
Yeah, we can see the curtains going because your little kitty cat. So
right now, going crazy. She's 3 months old. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the primary mission. But then outside of that, there are a number of other things that we do. We assist with humanitarian assistance and disaster response, both within Canada and around the world. We assist other government departments. So you think of the RCMP for things like the Olympics, for example. We had our own operation called Operation Podium, which was designed for us to provide security and protection and sort of set up that zone around the areas that the Olympics were in to make sure that there were no external threats, and we support them that way. We help the Coast Guard with search and rescue patrols. We help border services with different things that may need to be done. We even work with other countries and some of their law enforcement. And one of the big ones is an operation called Operation Carib. And that is with the United States Coast Guard law enforcement detachments, where we send ships down off the coast of South America on both sides of the continent, and they provide support to those law enforcement detachments in drug interdiction to ensure that those drugs don't make it to our borders.
It's, I'm hearing you saying that, and like, for the rebel that I've always been, when you think about the police or the Army, it's for me, there was something negative attached to it, even though I wanted to go in the Army and I studied to become a police woman, but not being one. When you see a police car on the street, you're like, oh, the cops are there, because you're only thinking like, I can get a speeding ticket if you're speeding, blah, blah. If there's a stop and you didn't do it, I'm going to get a ticket again. And I guess at the Army, there's Army, Navy, and all of that, there's like this negative connotation about it as well. But God, are we ever happy to have you guys, because we're safe because of that. And I think that that's a big part that people don't see. I tell my kids sometimes when they're like, because we don't see the Army here, I'm in a quiet neighborhood, but when you hear like, oh, the cops are there, I'm like, well, you know what? If ever something happens to you, these are the first people ever you will want to see more than me. You will be like, cops. And it's a bit the same like the Army. The very first people we want to see or we think about if there's an issue is the Army, the Navy, and Air Force. So I just want to say we are very grateful to have all of these instances, even if we don't always understand them 100%. Like I told you in the pre-interview, like for me, the Navy, I was just like, what are they doing exactly? Are they fighting pirates? Because we also have all of like a lot of our knowledge comes from movies that we see in a lot of American movies and a lot of probably centralized, things that happens. But, tell us one thing that could be similar to a movie that happened to you in your 26 years.
Oh my goodness.
Without revealing any
Oh goodness.
I'm really putting you on the spot, people, because that was not in the pre-interview.
Yeah, I don't really, I suppose the biggest thing for me has just been these sort of chance encounters with celebrities and things, just based on, what my job was and where I was at the time. I remember one of the most exciting things probably that ever happened to me was I was in Seattle for the Seafair one year, and it turned out Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses was like the ambassador for the parade that year, and I ended up talking to him at this reception, and I just thought, wow, I can't believe I'm talking to somebody. Oh, hi, somebody from a rock band that I listened to in high school is now here, and I'm talking to him. And for a young girl from Newfoundland, that's pretty surreal.
I think it's pretty cool, the fact that you don't have some movie scene to tell me, because it means that you kept everything protected and clear. So thank you. I know that's not something to say right now. Probably Caroline, shut up. But besides that, Deb, what do you have to say?
Well, you know what, I think that would be interesting, Michele, to share. Most of us, when we, the movies that we see or what have you, whether it's from the movies or from stories, or, my grandmother used to be part of a Legion, but it was, the grandfather that was in the Navy, and it was the grandfather that was in this, and my son's grandfather was, and we hear a lot about men historically in these fields, and then women came in, and it was like, it was very novel. So being the third commander, what was it like being a woman? I mean, I know we don't have forever and ever, but how did your family feel about that? What did your friends say about that? What did you experience? Was it tougher? Was it easier? Did like anything like that that would help? Again, when I think about people going in, I stood outside the services. I think I remember sharing that story with you. I stood outside the recruiting office. I was 17 years old, and I must have stared at that door for 3 hours. And I don't know why I didn't walk through, because I'm not AAA personality. They probably would have asked me to leave pretty soon, like Caroline, but they said, you two, out of here. But I didn't have anyone I could relate to. I mean, honestly, I grew up watching Wonder Woman. We didn't have those icons. You are an icon, and I know you do a lot of mentorship. So what's it like for women? Oh, yeah, I think you're muted. No, it's just not coming in. All right, we can hear you now.
All right. It goes back to my life as a young child. I was the oldest, or I guess I am the oldest of 3 daughters in my family. We didn't have any boys, and so in our house there was never blue or pink jobs. If Dad said the lawn needs to be mowed and the garbage has to be picked up, then we were the ones that did it. Just like if the laundry had to be done or the dishes had to be washed. So I guess I never really thought of things in that manner, that this is a girl's job, this is a boy's job. I just things that interested me, I just went after them and did them. So even as a young person, I got involved in everything, whether I was good at it or not. I played soccer and basketball, and I also danced and was in the drama club, and whatever it was, I just wanted to get out and try things and see what it was like to do things and meet people and get that sort of wide range of backgrounds and experiences from people who were interested in different things. So when this opportunity to join the Naval Reserve came up, and both of my younger sisters had been in the Sea Cadets, I wasn't, but both of them were. So it didn't really, I think for my parents, they were probably really happy that I had found something with some structure, because like I said, I was pretty indecisive all through university. And when I graduated, they were probably thinking, great, she has an English degree. Now what's she going to do? She's going to move back into the house. So yeah, that wasn't a difficult thing for me from my family perspective, or even really from my friends, I guess. I'm sure a lot of them kind of wondered why I would want to put on a necktie, because that's one of our uniforms. We wear a necktie. But it was not difficult for me that way. Once I got into the military, the thing that I found very much was just wanting to blend in. You didn't want to be seen as being different, as being a woman. And I certainly have heard some of those things through my career. One of the big courses that I did, which is the Fleet Navigating Officers course, which I ended up being asked to come and participate in because someone had seen my performance in another venue. And I ended up being the top student on the course. And I heard that it was because I was the only reservist on the course. I was the only female on the course, because I was the lowest ranking student on the course. And those were all the reasons why. And when someone said something like that, I would just say, well, no, we started with 6, we graduated 2, one of us had to be the top student, and it ended up being me. That's just how it went. I try to let that stuff go, because the more that you dwell on it and the more that you let people see that it bothers you, and the more that you sort of point out that you're different, I think you just make life a little more difficult for yourself. Now, what I will say is, as my career has progressed, I found that I've started to more embrace that side of me, and the fact that, yes, there is something different about a woman in uniform, and that there are things that we need to be celebrating. The first time someone said to me, oh, you're a role model, and I thought, no, I'm just a girl who goes to Tim Hortons in her sweats in the morning. I'm not, I just do a job. That's what I do. But I've had to accept the fact that I have been a woman who has been successful in a career that is not typically something a woman does. And so if that provides some sort of motivation or inspiration for other young girls or women to do that, then that's great. And I need to embrace that. And I feel that way, not just for females, but for males as well. My big message when I talk to young people in particular is, find something that you love to do, that you're good at, and go for it. You'll never know if you don't give it a try.
I love this mentality, and you sound so strong. I'm like, gosh, I wish I would have had that when I was a bit younger. As older women, we find that with time, but I mean, I certainly did not have that, except for signing up for whatever reason. I didn't have the personal confidence. So it's you're describing it very lightly, but I know that it had to be hard, and you had to have like an armor so thick. So congratulations. And I know that you hold a few titles, and instead of butchering them, I will ask you to share them with us. I know you're the third woman Navy commander in Canada, but you were also one of the top women. I'll let you.
Yeah. In the Navy, I was the third woman in Canada who had command of a ship, a seagoing ship. We are thankfully now up into the double digits, which is awesome. Every time I see another name on the list of someone who's taken command of a ship, it's fantastic. I'm a member of the Order of Military Merit, which is an honor that's bestowed on a very, very small percentage of the Canadian Armed Forces every year. And when I found that out, I was extremely honored. I was shocked. I didn't think it was going to be coming, but that was a very special thing for me. And in 2017, I was named to the Women's Executive Network's Canada's Most Powerful Women Top 100, which again was one of those things where a woman that I had met at a military event had asked me if she could nominate me, and my response was, "Okay, you want to nominate me? I'm not going to win anything, but all right, sure." And then when I got the news that I had been selected as one of the top 100, first of all, I felt obviously humbled and unworthy. I was excited, and initially I wasn't allowed to tell anyone about it. And as the event got closer and they were going to announce all the names, I felt less and less happy about it, to be honest. I felt nervous. I felt like an imposter. In fact, the post that I made to let my family and so on know that this had happened, because I was on an airplane on my way to the event in Toronto when the list came out and I was allowed to tell people. And the post that I made, I actually said, I feel like an imposter, because I had looked at that list of the other 99 women and the things that they had done in their lives, and their CEOs and working for banks and entrepreneurs and all these other things that they had done. And I thought, I'm a nobody. I just do a job. I'm just another officer in the Navy. And it was quite a humbling experience. And it took me a while to accept the accolades, I guess, and to appreciate the fact that somebody recognized what I did, and to understand that other people look at us as women in the military as being quite a different, successful type of people. And what I'm really happy to say is that I just found out that this year's list includes a very good friend of mine. She's a Chief Petty Officer First Class, which is the highest non-commissioned rank that you can achieve in the military. And she's currently the base commander's Chief Petty Officer in Halifax. Her name is Elena Mondelli. I sailed with her when she was a leading seaman and I was an acting sub-lieutenant. We were young. I was under training. She was a phenomenal woman who actually shaped some of my career and some of my dedication and professionalism. So when I saw her name this year, I was just so happy to see someone else I knew on that list.
Wow. You know what? Thank you for being transparent, because the truth is, I think many people, probably a lot of those other 99 women that you were talking about, felt the same thing. And I think the imposter, because it is a habit, or I don't know where it comes from, cultural habit or what have you, to compare ourselves to others. One of the best things that someone said to me in my 20s was, stop comparing your insides to other people's outsides. And that imposter syndrome comes from inside. That unworthy or unvalue or this or that or unself-recognizing comes from the inside, and we look at other people's outsides. It's very interesting. One of the things that, and then we don't talk about it. We just kind of like, she's done more, he's done more, he's done that. But here's what I know, and here's what I've learned, particularly doing this show with Caroline, is that we call it the True That Show, and people share their story, right? And everybody has a story. Everybody has low self-worth, whether it's for a day or 10 years, but we all have had our things to overcome. And when we get recognized by other people, I think, again, culturally, I don't know, I'm talking because, maybe I think, part of the Commonwealth or whatever, we tend to downplay. And I feel that if you want to talk about gender differences, one of the gender differences is my generation. So I'm 56, maybe I'm talking from that call, but it was like, be nice. Children should be seen and not heard. Don't brag about yourself. Like that person's bragging. They're boasting. They think they're all that. Oh, she thinks that she's all that, right? And we're going through this surge of having to claim ourselves and reclaim our power and be proud of ourselves. And, I tell people to make accomplishment lists of things that you've done, just to remind ourselves all of the amazing things that we've done. So there's people. Absolutely. I mean, I turned around at that door, and you lived out, someone's dream. And I think that it's important to share that, because I can guarantee you, from a co-publisher we do books of women that make a certain income, and the title is 20 Powerful Women, in this certain business sector, and they all have established themselves, and every single one of them was like, I don't know if I should be in a book that says powerful. One of them makes multi-millions a year, and no one would ever hesitate to think that she was like, was my chapter good enough? So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's a worldwide issue. And I think that we are really changing it. And I think we have to change it a lot more in our culture here, because I think that the millennials, like Caroline was talking about before, that kind of come up through the ranks, we're telling them, have self-esteem, you can go for it, you can do it. That big girl movement, whether Spice Girls kicked it off or not, I don't know, but there's been a movement of self-empowerment for a very long time that we missed the gap on. So I want to commend you for that. That's amazing. So here you are, have this amazing career, and you've now come to the closing of that career. And I believe the last time I shared with you, was there not something about your name on a boat or something? Wasn't there, like, I don't know, maybe we should throw that into the conversation. Let's just cherry that Sunday. And isn't there like something with your name on it that you should be sharing about now, Michele?
It's not my name, but this is a great time to talk about another powerful woman in Canada.
Okay.
So the ship that I had command of, which has just recently been delivered to the country from the builder, like it was under construction the whole time that I was in command of the crew. And I did get to turn that command over to a good friend of mine, another woman named Nicole Robichaud. She's now the commander of the ship. The ship is named HMCS, which is Her Majesty's Canadian ship, Margaret Brooke. And Margaret Brooke is basically a war hero. She was a nursing officer in World War II. She was on board the ferry, the SS Caribou, when it was torpedoed off the coast of Newfoundland. And the vessel sunk. They were in the water for hours and hours and hours. She had been with her very good friend, whose name was Agnes Wilkie, and Agnes was another nursing sister. Margaret was clinging to the side of an overturned life raft with one hand and holding on to her friend Agnes with the other, trying to keep Agnes alive. And Agnes, I guess, had been succumbing to the environment, because this happened in, I think it was in October. So cold, nighttime off the coast of Newfoundland. Agnes ended up passing away, but Margaret was recognized for her heroics in trying to save her friend. And she was named a member of the Order of the British Empire. So when Canada came up with this new class of ships, these Arctic and offshore patrol vessels, they're sort of informally called the Hero class, and they're named after Canadian heroes. So the first of class is Harry de Wolfe. Harry de Wolfe was an admiral who was quite a decorated admiral, one of our Canadian military icons. Margaret Brooke is the second ship in the class. And learning so much about her, she was a phenomenal woman. She, when she encountered that situation, ended up in the hospital. She came out of the hospital, she continued on in the Navy, she retired as a lieutenant commander. She was a PhD recipient from the University of Saskatchewan. She finished and then went back to school and got her PhD. She never married. She did not appreciate being called Mrs. or Ms. And she once schooled an admiral on calling her by an inappropriate pronoun, which is fantastic. But just a strong, phenomenal woman. And I read the letter that she wrote to her brother while she was in the hospital after the sinking of the Caribou. And she was talking about the great care that she was getting there, and also how bad she felt, how guilty she felt about basically lying around in the hospital while all of her friends were back at work and she needed to be back there with them. And that's just the kind of woman that she was. So it was fantastic that the Navy ended up naming a ship after her. She was alive when they decided to do that. So before she passed away, she found out the Navy was going to name a ship after her. And her niece, who has the same name as the ship sponsor. And I actually was just with Margaret, the junior, a couple of weeks ago here, and we took her for a tour of one of the Arctic ships.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I raise my hat to all of the women who paved the way before us, because if all of these women hadn't done that, we wouldn't be where we are either. We would be the ones having to do something spectacular like that. So, and I know there's still a long ways to go, but I mean, we're such on a great path. And just if you're thinking about, the bragging part, well, we've solved that, because now millennials are on social media taking 52 pictures of themselves a day, to the point that I'm telling them, like, aren't you sick of looking at yourself? So we've accomplished that. We've moved on. We're good with that. Now we can brag. It's an open territory. But to come back to you, Michele, so your career now closed, and I want to address that because when you told me the story, again, one thing that I saw in that was like the strength that you had doing that. Like, because again, you describe it as this happened and I moved on. But I was putting myself in your shoes and I was like, oh my goodness, it's not easy. And you did it in a very, strong and humble way at the same time. But first I will ask you, give us your favorite quote ever, and then explain how your departure happened.
I would say my favorite quote, I guess, or the motto that I always try and live my life by is never ask your people to do something you aren't willing to do yourself. And that is really the thing that led me to where I am right now in retiring from the Navy. I have, as I said before, almost 26 years of service. About 3 years ago, I started having some issues with my neck. I've had a couple of injuries that have compounded, and I started having some real problems with my neck. And I had gotten to a point where I realized that I am not quite physically capable of doing some of the things that I need to be able to do. So, for example, we do a fitness test every year in the military. For the last 3 years, because of this neck injury, I have not been able to do that fitness test. And to me, while someone would look and say, well, you're the captain of the ship, you just sit in the chair on the bridge and everybody else does the work. And so it's really not that hard, and not that hard physically. And so, do you really need to be able to do that? But I don't feel that that's a way that I can appropriately lead my people if I can't do the things that are expected of them to be able to do their job. And so it was a long discussion with myself. It was a difficult decision, but I had I had resolved myself to the fact that I wanted to, get myself past sort of 25 years of service, and knowing that my physical condition was limiting me in what I could really do. I thought it's time for me to move on and to do something different. In the end, the military ended up medically releasing me. So it's been a bit of a mixed blessing that way. But, just knowing that I was at a place where I didn't feel like I was being my most authentic self to my people. I wasn't leading them in the way that I really wanted to lead them. And they knew I was injured, and they appreciated my honesty with them and where I came from, and I led them the best that I could. But there was that part of me that just felt like, no, it's time to move on and to let someone else have a turn and find out what's going to be next for me. And really what's most interesting about that I've been thinking about as we've been talking is, for 26 years of my life, I've had someone else always telling me what I'm going to do next. They tell me what time to eat and what to wear and where to show up to get my needles and go here to get your medical appointment. And all those things just happen for you in the military. I've never had to think about what job I was going to do next, because basically someone just looked at me and said, here's what you're doing next. Congratulations, off you go. And now all of a sudden, I have to do all of these things for myself. I have to decide what it is that I want to do next. And that's quite a daunting task, actually.
Well, I think we were sharing a little bit about that in the pre-interview where, one of the things that I was commending you is that being in that place. And I think for a lot of us, we get that idea, or that opportunity comes, or it's forced you have to really stop and take a look at what is next. Even when you're doing something you love, what's next in that passion? What's next in that career? How are you going to do it differently? Or are you going to take it to the next level? Or are you going to do this and create something different? And so being at a standstill, per se, being in that silence and that quiet, for me, I mean, everybody does things differently. For me, I'm a big journaler. I love talking to coaches. I love talking to people, that have, whether it's a therapist, a coach, an advisor, however you want to call it, having that internal journey. And I don't think it's an overly comfortable place. Most people don't go, oh, I'm so glad, because our culture is a lot about, so what do you do now? So what are you doing now? So being in that place of, can be such a creative place, but can it also be a little daunting? So yeah, tell us a little bit about that. And I know that we're kind of a little bit running out of time, so I'll share with us a little bit about that, and I'll let Caroline close us out today.
Okay. As soon as I decided I was going to retire, I had people start asking me exactly that. What are you going to do next? Where are you going to work? Do you want to come and work with us? Do you want to do this? How would you be interested in helping us with this? And I felt really being pulled in a whole bunch of different directions and not really sure what it was that I wanted to do. And I felt like I needed to give someone an answer, again, because I've just been so used to living in that environment where this is what you're going to do next, and you give the answer and you move on. And I had to really come to peace with the fact that it's okay right now to just do nothing, really, just to stop and take inventory and look back on the things that I've done and decide what it is that I really want to do next. I've kept my finger in the military a little bit. I've taken a contract with the Navy to assist with some mentoring and coaching in our simulator. So we have a bridge simulator where young officers that are learning how to do the job that I did go and train. And so I work in there as a mentor for them. And that's just a casual thing that I'm doing right now. And outside of that, I'm looking at some school programs, some coaching and mentoring, leadership programs, values-based leadership, because that's very much where I draw a lot of my stuff from. And I have been doing a lot of reading and a little bit of journaling and looking for yoga retreats, to be honest, just to, again, kind of get inside my own head and clear out all the garbage and figure out exactly what it is that, as a friend of mine once said, finding out what it is that makes my heart sing.
Well said. Well said. And you know what? I am absolutely not worried for you that when you want to work, you will have offers pouring at you, because I can see you very well as a coach, as much in business and in personal life, and mentor. Like, you went through you know what discipline is, and you went through something exceptional. So I'm sure a lot of people would love to be mentored by you. And I'm not just talking about the Army or the Navy here. I'm talking about us civilians that would like to put a bit of discipline in our lives. So I'm not worried for you at all, but I do hope that you will find your comfort and peace and stay there as long as you can, and just do those little contracts, because I know that I say that often. I'm like, I can't wait to retire. I don't think I will ever retire because I have the brain always going, but you are in a place of freedom right now. We were talking about that in another interview. Freedom is really about doing what you want, when you want. That's freedom. It's not necessarily not working. It's really deciding. And that's a whole new journey for you. It's like deciding exactly what is it that you want. So I really wish you the best of luck with that. I would close the show, but then Deb gets upset, like off camera, she gets upset. So I will leave her the last word. People, thank you so much for joining us on this Remembrance Day. Michele, it was an honor to get to know you better. And we will leave Michelle's coordinates if ever you want to reach out to her, if you have a question, or if she starts a program and you want to go in it. So Deb, it's all yours.
Oh, see, we like to play this with you. We banter. We didn't banter as much this time because we knew that this was more of a serious show, because we both have such a healthy respect for what you do and what other people have done for this country and supporting. And even if you're someone that supports, right, supports people, that supports the country. So thank you for everybody for taking that moment that we're going to be taking today to remember all of that. And you know what? We love to have guests like Michele. If there was something that inspired you when you heard Michele sharing today, and you have something that you think would be to the betterment of others, we want to hear from you. So just give us an email at debandcaroline@gmail.com. And we also had the grace of having not only Michele on the show, but you know that our planner, which is for, you can now see why we'd have to have Michele in the planner, not only to represent the month of November, but also it's called the Ultimate Entrepreneur Planner, that helps people stay disciplined to their personal and business goals. And so you can see how the discipline crossed over, and she's got a beautiful quote that you can QR code and share with yourself in the world. So that's in the planner for those of you that are interested in that. You can contact us at the same number. Again, thank you, Michele, from the bottom of our heart. Thank you, Caroline, for sharing Remembrance Day with us here with me. And with that, we will end, and we will see you again next week. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much for listening and watching and sharing our podcast, because our whole mandate is around being able to have people like Michele known more in the world and share their message. So thanks for what you do. And with that, we will sign off and see you again next week.